Last time on Top 10 Favorite Pokemon, there was terror.
Well, hi guys! Hey, what's up, Roman?
Edison, how'd you get here? Suspense.
Number 7 on my list is Scyther.
Really?
Yeah!
Comedy.
So I guess that's not too far-fetched. Well, it's not far-fetched at all.
And too many puns.
Knuckles the enchilada. Wait, what? I've heard of the X and Y axis, but the D axis? Axel?
Axel! Oh boy.
So if you haven't seen the last episode, you better go do that right now.
Which actually segues, if you're done, segues into my number 5.
Well, there you go.
Which is the first starter on my list. Now they're all gonna be starters, though.
Oh,
no, remember I mentioned an affinity for fire starters, and that will be very clear with my number 5 is Blaziken.
Ah, kickin' chicken.
The kickin' chicken, yep.
Mr.
Now,
Bojangles.
now, I mentioned before that I had a special affinity, or a special attachment to Pokemon X and Y, because it was the first Pokemon game that I really got into after a 10-year gap.
I know where you're going with this. Mega Blaziken.
No, actually not.
Really?
I also have a very strong affinity for Ruby and Sapphire because they were the last games that I was really into before that gap.
That makes sense as well.
I was playing on Ruby with a Blaziken that I nicknamed Kickin' Chicken, and
I remember this.
Yep. And that just always really did it for me. I liked the design. I feel like Blaziken is one of the few Pokemon that I could see being a triple type. Being fire, fighting, and flying.
That would have been very interesting. I'm not gonna lie.
Right. So
And
I think that's kind of...
with Hawlucha, if the two of them were able to actually make a third option, like, that would be really funny.
That would. So, yeah, Blaziken, I like Mega Blaziken also. Like, Mega Blaziken is cool, but honestly, I like just straight up Blaziken even better. Mainly because of the nostalgia. That was the last generation, and that was the last starter I had before for 10 years I was just out of the game. Yeah. So, for 10 years, that was the starter that I kind of held in my heart all those years.
Oh, well.
That's what puts it at number 5.
Now, to be perfectly honest, I got in Generation 4, but the first Pokemon game I owned myself was Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team, which was a Generation 3 game. But it was a spin-off title, so, take it as you will.
Still counts.
And there was a GBA version that was Red Rescue Team. The first time I beat that game, the two Pokemon were myself as a Meowth and my partner as a Torchic, who was named Bojangles. So I understand your attachment to Torchic.
Definitely.
Very good choice.
Thank you. So what is your number 5?
Well, I've also got a bird.
Oh boy.
Noctowl.
Noctowl!
Yeah, Noctowl is actually my fallback bird Pokemon, and it has a lot of good psychic abilities it can go to.
I can see that.
You have the Hypnosis, you have the regular psychic moves. You can teach it Shadow Ball. You can give it Air Cutter or Fly, depending on whether you want to have it for the HM or just play towards its special attack. It's very defense-based with its high special defense and good HP. And, normal flying, you can't really go too far wrong with that. But what always sold it for me was that Insomnia ability. That's one of my favorite abilities.
It's so helpful sometimes.
You know what's really going to be funny, though? Komala only being able to be put to sleep.
Oh, yeah?
That's going to be a nightmare, because I have a feeling they're going to balance it by having it sleep for way longer than normal.
Oh, jeez.
I'm just calling that right now. So, yeah, Insomnia is definitely a good ability to have.
It is really nice.
Because the only other ability that will do that to you or the only other stats that'll do that kind of thing to you is Freeze. And if you use a fire move that gets rid of it, you have to be attacked in order to be afflicted with freezing. It's just, sleep is far more common. So if you can defend against that, that's very good for you. I believe your other ability is Keen Eye, which is really good. And
Right.
your hidden ability, again, memory serves, I'm not looking at this right now. I believe your hidden ability is Tinted Lens, which boosts power of moves that aren't very effective. So there you go.
Interesting. That is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely like Noctowl as well. Not enough to be on the top 10, but definitely.
Oh yeah.
Definitely a good Pokemon.
Noctowl took some time, but it's my favorite actual bird Pokemon.
Very cool. Very cool.
I would love to have a set of like Hoot Hoot glasses, because that would be really funny.
That would be amazing.
So
You'd
what's
have
your
to hop
number
around.
4?
You'd have to hop around from one leg to the other. My number 4 is very likely not a surprise to anyone who has kept up with my Heart Gold Nuzlocke. It is Magmar!
Oh no, Magmar!
As anyone knows from my tragic attempt at catching a Magmar in the Safari Zone on my Heart Gold Nuzlocke, where I proclaimed to the world how much I love this Pokemon.
Yep.
And tragically was not able to catch it. And it has taken many, many episodes to get over that. I'm still not over it. I will never be over it.
You'll never be truly over it, but you're as close as you can.
I'll be the league champion saying, there was that Magmar that got away!
Yep. That got away.
But I've always liked Magmar. Again, it's, Gen 1, because I was a kid as Gen 1 came out. So there's a lot of those have a special attachment. Mm-hmm. Particularly the ones that are kind of human-shaped. You got your Scyther, you got, Magmar. And I don't know what it is about Magmar. If you were to ask me why I like Magmar, I really couldn't tell you. Something about it has just always kind of stuck with me as being a Pokemon I like.
Clearly, it's that Japanese name.
Yeah. Yeah.
We went over this during the stream, didn't we?
Yep. But yeah, so Magmar is right up there. Now, for the record, I really don't like Magmortar. Magmortar really doesn't, I dislike Magmortar.
Talk about duck face. Ugh.
Yeah. So it's Magmar or bust when it comes to that.
Yeah.
No other, in my mind, I don't even really like Magby that much. It's just Magmar. Straight out of Gen 1. I'm not like a strict Gen 1er, but...
I'm not gonna lie, one of the good things about having a Magmar is that Flame Body ability, or I believe it's one of the only Pokemon that can have Magma Armor as an alternate. So it's really good for hatching eggs.
That is true. That is.
And the Flame Body will cause opponents to be burned. And if I'm right in saying it has Magma Armor as its second ability, I'm probably wrong on that, by the way.
I'm sure the comments will let us know.
Yeah, and we can check this in editing. But no, if I'm right on that, it also means that it could be immune to freezing, which we talked about earlier.
Exactly.
So there you go.
So
Great
what
choice.
is your number 4? We're getting down to the wire here. We're getting to
We
the
are.
intense.
But as I
Best.
said, the top 3 you kind of expect from me. So this is the last one that's really that big a surprise. My number 4 is also a fire type, Chandelure.
Chandelure. Now, I think I've seen one of those.
Okay, so you remember back when you were on the Pixel League server, you saw a Litwick in, I believe,
it's that
Pokemon
Litwick
3.0, and you were like, what even is this? And you took a little while to realize it was a ghost type.
That sounds like me. What is this Gen 4 or 5 thing?
Yeah, it's a Generation 5 Ghost Fire type. It can have either Flash Fire or Flame Body. And it was actually my introduction to the Ghost type.
Cool.
Which is now one of my favorite types, so thank you a lot, Chandelure.
I clearly don't like Ghost type at all.
Not at all, no. To be fair, though, up until that point, I played Diamond and Pearl, and then Heart Gold, Soul Silver. And the only ones you can really get easily in that game are Ghastly, and you have to trade them to evolve them fully. So Chandelure was the first one I could fully evolve, and the first one I really tried to use.
Okay.
A lot of Pokemon from my original Pokemon White team are very important to me, with the exception of Larvesta, which was there to be trained and was a waste of my slot. Because it didn't get past level 30.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So I had the Serperior, I had Chandelure, I had the Zekrom, the legendary from Pokemon White.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I had the Larvesta, which I wasn't really using. I also had Caracosta for Surf. So there was a lot of really important Pokemon in that team. But yeah, Chandelure introduced me to the Ghost type, and I've been pretty consistent about pulling that out as a breeding partner ever since. I'm still using, Litwick's line for breeding partners in X and Y.
I'm just gonna leave the jokes alone on that one. Yes,
well,
that is.
let's not be waxing towards that kind of humor.
Oh, bad jokes. At least you have some candles to set the mood, right?
There you go.
Oh man.
Okay, you're number 3, dude.
Oh man, we are down to number 3. This is intense. My number 3. This is gonna probably feel backwards to some of you viewers, but my number 3 favorite Pokemon is Quilava. Exactly. Exactly.
I had a feeling it'd be on your list. I really did.
I love Quilava, and it's one of those that if you ask me what exactly it is about Quilava that I like so much, I couldn't really tell you. But little story that I might have told in some places, but again, back when I was a kid, and it was Generation 2, Gold and Silver, my first Pokemon I got was the Cyndaquil, and I evolved it into Quilava. But then, now mind you, at this point I was like, 10 or 11. I was quite young, but I decided not to evolve Quilava. I kept it as a Quilava. Now, I leveled that Quilava up to level 100.
Wow.
And I never evolved it. It just was sitting there with an Everstone as a Quilava because for some reason my little 10-year-old mind decided that Quilava was the best it could possibly be.
You know what, though? I do have to admit, when they were shiny in Generation 4, never wanted to get a shiny Typhlosion. Quilava and Cyndaquil were awesome, but shiny Typhlosion was magenta, and I have no clue why. Yeah.
But yeah, so Quilava is my number 3. What about you, Quilava, man?
Well, honestly, I understand your affinity towards Quilava. Honestly, I think it's by far one of the best fire-type starters, because Charizard has the exact same stats as Typhlosion, and it doesn't have some of the issue. Like, Typhlosion is better suited for those stats.
Right.
As far as movesets go. But we're getting to the point where it's kind of no surprise. My number 3 is Prinplup.
Prinplup. Yeah. See, I don't know all of your top ones that super well.
Okay, so what is Prinplup? Do you even know what a Prinplup is?
Off the top of my head, I'm not even drawing up any images.
It's the second stage of Piplup.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
and Holion is the final evolution. Piplup is the base form. Prinplup. So, okay. First time I played Diamond and Pearl.
Right.
My brother and I were taking turns just trying this new game out because we'd never touched a Pokemon game before in our lives. We weren't allowed to.
Right.
And he'd gotten it for his birthday, and we decided at some point we would just switch back and forth. We couldn't figure out how to delete this one person's save file because we got the game used.
Oh.
And this person, I kid you not, this person decided to save as soon as they got everything taken care of with the opening, and then did nothing and sold the game. Yeah, and we couldn't figure out how to continue with that.
Oh.
So we were having some issues. But I managed to get the first Piplup I ever owned, the first Pokemon I ever owned, all the way out to beat the first gym. And finally evolved to its first stage. So, on its own, that's pretty good. But there's a couple of really interesting tidbits. Piplup's line is very important to me because at the start, well, not the start, when you go see the professor after getting your Pokemon, and you actually go to his lab because it's not in your hometown.
Right.
Actually, that in and of itself is pretty important because you think Gen 6 is the first one. It was not. It was Gen 4's games, where the professor actually was from a different town.
I remember hearing that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see it myself, but I have heard that.
Of course. So, Professor Rowan mentioned something about feeling a thrill with your Pokemon when you walk up the route. I knew exactly what he was talking about. I don't know why, I don't know how, I don't know what, but I knew what he was talking about. So yeah, that in and of itself is pretty important. But I evolved the Piplup the first time, and I was like, what is this? This is nowhere near what I expected it to be in the first place.
This isn't what I signed up for.
Not at all. But I like Piplup now from a design aspect, because that's the thing that was getting me. The thing that got me originally was the design, and I wasn't a fan of it, but after some time, some meditation on it, I've grown to like it a lot more. I really have. I'm still not 100% okay with Empoleon. It looks way too serious for me.
Empoleon is a strange one.
Empoleon is very strict. It looks like Napoleon. So
that is true.
And it's the same height, so there you go. And that Water Steel type Empoleon gets is really, really solid.
Yeah.
But, I guess it makes sense that one of my top 3 had to be a penguin.
That does make perfect sense.
And no, Delibird is not one of the others.
Aw? I would have gone for Delibird, but that's just because it's...
I will admit, though, I want to try Delibird at some point as, like, a lethal joke Pokemon. That would be so much fun.
Oh, man. So are we down to number 2?
I think we might be.
Oh, boy. So, my number 2 favorite Pokemon of all time is Sneasel.
What?
Sneasel. Oh, bad. So, okay, this once again goes back to my childhood, and there's a couple of reasons I like Sneasel. For one, I love the design. It's simple, but it works. Sneasel looks just like a bad dude, like in a cool way. Kind of like how Scyther just looks cool. I feel like Sneasel really looks cool too.
But it's definitely not... Like, it looks like it's somebody you probably shouldn't be hanging around with.
Exactly. Sneasel looks like that bad influence that you don't want to hang out with. Like, he looks like if he was a...
I like how you just said he was a bad influence, but still looked cool.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
so he's definitely Dark and Ice.
Yeah, Sneasel's kind of like... Yeah, exactly. Literally, is cool. Like, if Sneasel was a person, he'd be like, have a leather jacket and like a Fonzie haircut kind of thing. But also, the other thing that really, from a young age, got me interested in Sneasel was actually in the Pokemon card game. One of the earlier sets of the card game had this Sneasel, and in the early metagame, Sneasel was one of the best cards in the game. So much so that at one of the really big, like, national tournaments, that was the only card in the entire game that was banned.
Wow.
And they had a big banner of the picture of that card and said banned at the STS, the Super Trainer Showdown.
Jeez.
I know. So like,
but
that was,
it used to have its own signature move, Beat Up. Like that was dangerous back then. Well, it's still pretty bad.
Yeah, in the card game, it was like it could be just unbeatable.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. Oh,
so you did that, not me.
So what is Quillman's number 2?
Okay, well, we've already got one of the things I like more than anything else in the world with the penguins.
Right?
What's the other thing I like more than anything else? Halloween. Obviously, Pumpkaboo is my number 2.
Pumpkaboo! Woo!
Okay, so
Pumpkaboo.
This is the second Pokemon I've actually looked at and said, I want this. I don't know, I don't care what I have to do. I want this Pokemon. And, if it had been a game-exclusive Pokemon like I was expecting, then I would have completely given up on Pokemon Y and just gone for X. That's how much I wanted this thing.
Wow.
And the fact that it evolved through trading did not bother me. That always bothered me.
Yeah.
So, that says enough right there. But... as I said, I've only done one run of Pokemon X and Y. The Pumpkaboo I used was actually a gift from my girlfriend.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was a 5IV Pumpkaboo, with the special attack being the only thing that it suffered in, which was fine because I didn't use that.
Right.
And it was supersized, even better, with Pickup, which is one of my favorite abilities. So there was a lot of really good things going for Pumpkaboo, which makes it all the funnier that there is still no way that it could possibly be my favorite one.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, something completely, utterly just kicks it down to number 2. But it still solidly holds that number 2 spot.
Wow. Pumpkaboo is also amazing to spam into the Wonder Trade and make people sit through, every time they have to sit through an evolution.
Oh. Oh, I seriously want to,
trading.
At some point though, I seriously want to just have a big group of people all at one time have their Wonder Trade statement be repel war off and just send bunches of Zubats. I want that to be a thing someday.
That would be great. That would be great. I'd be in on that. I would be in on that.
Yeah, I know you would. Oh man.
Oh, man.
At some point, if we do like a big Pokemon stream, that's something we have to do to end it off.
Yes.
Alright, so our number 1s. This is very important.
Oh my gosh. This is it. Number 1.
I hope you've chosen wisely.
I have really had to think, really search my soul as to what is my favorite Pokemon of all time. And I have found it. And only just this last week did it really hit me. And then it was like, yes, this is my favorite. There's no contesting it.
Bulbasaur! No, I'm kidding.
Mewtwo.
You know what?
Now, I know...
That's alright. I'm cool
I
with
know
this.
Mewtwo is kind of overhyped. I know Mewtwo is a very popular thing, but I just recently watched, for the first time in a lot of years, rewatched Pokemon the first movie.
I had a feeling this was going to be brought up.
And it brought me back. As a kid,
yeah.
I saw that movie in the theaters. I was a little 10-year-old kid at the movie theater in line at the beginning of the hype of Pokemon, seeing that on the big screen, and I was blown away. And to this day, there is no Pokemon.
So many good things have been said about that movie. I really need to see it at some point.
You haven't?
I've not seen any of the Pokemon movies for multiple reasons.
That one, I mean, maybe it's not as good if you weren't there.
I think that the nostalgia is a big factor, and I understand that. But there are a lot of good things about it.
Right.
And I've seen that big quote. You know the one I'm talking about. If you're a fan of Pokemon, you know this line. I have seen that, I kid you not, 36 times at least since the start of this year. It is that big of a line, and it's that important of a message.
I know now that the circumstances of one's birth are irrelevant. It is what we do with the gift of life that determines who we are. Yep.
Absolutely beautiful.
So Mewtwo...
I am perfectly fine with this choice.
And I also love how they introduced Mewtwo again, very much like in Gen 1, back in Gen 6.
Yes.
The Mega Evolutions, whatever. They're okay. They're not bad, but they're not as good in my opinion. But I like how it's very much like it was in the first Pokemon games, which again, when I was a kid, and oh my gosh, there is this insanely powerful Pokemon at the end of this last dungeon thing. And they did the same thing in X and Y. And I think that's really cool. There's just always going to be a special place in my heart for Mewtwo, and that's why Mewtwo is number 1 for me.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of disappointed that in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, you can still get Mewtwo before you get all 3 of the birds.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how well you know Heart Gold, Soul Silver, so I'm not gonna spoil too much, but Moltres is in Mount Silver, and that's all I'm gonna have to say on the matter.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get to. I would go after that before anything. I would go after all 3 of the birds individually before Mewtwo. But that's how I would do it.
Yeah, that's probably what I would do too.
My number 1 choice. Oh man, I have said this so many times within the past 2 or 3 years. My favorite Pokemon ever is Sandile.
Sandile!
The ground dart crocodilian from Generation 5 is by far my favorite Pokemon.
What a random favorite Pokemon.
Here's the thing though, if you know me, if you've seen everything that has happened with Pokemon around me, it's no surprise. Everything lines up here. This is the Pokemon I've used the most often. I have used it every single time it has come up. Like, literally every single time.
Wow.
I used it in White. I've used it in White 2. I've used it every time I ran through Conquest. I've used it in Y. I'm going to be using it in Omega Ruby. This is the biggest Pokemon for me. I'm not kidding.
That is so random.
But not only that, I have a fantastic moveset to give it. I give it Crunch. I give it Earthquake. I give it Brick Break. I give it Rock Slide. And it gets stabbed from Earthquake. That on its own is really
nice. That is really
but
nice.
It doesn't stop there. It has the Intimidate ability. It can have the Moxie ability, which boosts its attack if it kills something. It can have Anger Point for a hidden ability, which boosts its attack the maximum if it's hit by a critical move. Even further, it is the first Pokemon I ever looked at and said, I want this in my team and I don't care how I have to do it, I'm getting this. One step further, that was the highest level Pokemon in my Pokemon White team. My Crocodile was the strongest thing, even surpassing the Legendary.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a big freaking deal.
That's intense.
And not only that, this is such an important Pokemon to me that I will hunt down Desert M biomes in Minecraft just to get a Sandile and Pixelmon. And that is a royal pain in the butt to do, let me tell you.
That is true.
So this is by far my favorite Pokemon ever. I will go to almost any length to get this.
Go to the ends of the earth for your Sandile.
And it's got a really nice design. I love the sunglasses look on it. I love the fact
cool.
that it has an Egyptian feel to it, because that was a big thing for me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It is one of the only two Pokemon that can be found in the Relic Castle, with the other being Yamask, which evolves to Koffagrigus, the Sarcophagus Pokemon.
Right.
Which is actually not the classification of it, just saying.
But that's basically what it is.
It's everything lined up for this Pokemon for me. Everything. And it's amazing.
That is so cool.
It is fantastic. Anyway, I've been glad to have you on here for this.
You know, I've been glad to be here. I'm glad I stumbled over here.
Yeah. Well, let's not cross the streams again, huh?
Never cross the streams.
Never cross the streams.
This has been really fun, though. I had such a blast counting down our favorite Pokemon together. And it's just been a blast.
I have definitely enjoyed this. It
Definitely.
You know, really makes me want to just start working with you more often. I'm not gonna lie.
You know, I think that just might be in the cards.
It might be.
It might be.
Let's hope they're for humanity instead of against.
True.
Let's not give them ideas.
That's
Also, right over here, off to the right side, there might or might not be a link to another video we might be doing. Shh.
It's a secret. And
It's a secret.
And it might or might not have something to do with what we are most hoping to see out of Generation 7.
Oh man.
Yes.
Well, until next time, see you, Edison.
Catch you later, Ed Krillman.
And thank you all for watching. Good evening again.